Welcome back to Public Grand Jury. Before I begin, I need to be clear. I unequivocally invoke and assert my whistleblower and First Amendment protections under federal and state laws. I'm speaking in my personal capacity. Although I am a law enforcement officer, I do not speak on behalf of any of my law enforcement employers, the police department, any agency that employs me, or any governmental entity. These concerns, statements, and opinions expressed are strictly my own. I'm exercising my rights as a whistleblower and speaking on matters of public concern in good faith. Be advised that I have already made formal documented reports through the appropriate channels, including the United States Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, my chain of command, outside of my chain of command. Those reports address concerns involving District Attorney John Adams, the courts, and other matters of public corruption, abuse of power and authority, misconduct, fraud, and failures of accountability. This public statement is not a substitute for those formal reports. It is a continuation of my lawful, documented, and protected activity. I speak solely committed to truth, transparency, and accountability.
No one is above the law, including
Many of you have been asking when I was going to release the next video. I will now give you an update and explain the reasons why it took this long for me to release this video, which will be the second video in this series. First, I want to provide a brief update on the status of the right to know request I filed with the West Reading Police Department. If you haven't already, make sure to watch the first episode in this series. It will provide you with more context. As you may remember, West Reading Borough requested a 30-day extension for my request to the video of the incident where I was attacked by John Adams. That extension expired on or about January 9th. Chief Tornielli then contacted me and requested additional time. He also provided me with an update on his efforts to ensure the incident is properly investigated and prosecuted. It appears to me that there's some political stalling going on, which I believe to be outside of his control at this time. By the way, I'm not ignoring the concerns many of you have expressed to me regarding these delays and the handling of this case by the West Reading Police Department. And I truly understand and appreciate your concerns for me. However, up to this point, I can't say anything other than that Chief Tornielli's communications with me have been professional and to the point. While I'm also growing concerned about all these delays, I'm willing to allow just a little more time before coming to any conclusions and proceeding in any other way that I see fit. I hope that I'm not wrong in that respect. The second reason for the delay was that an investigation into me was opened shortly after the incident with John Adams in West Reading back in November. If you remember, as I said before, I was verbally assaulted, intimidated, tacitly threatened by District Attorney John Adams. I want to be clear. This is how the system works when the bad actors like John Adams are people with influence and power like he has. Although I was the victim, I was the one that filed a complaint with West Reading Police. The fact that there were no complaints filed against me, and the fact that the video of the incident clearly demonstrates my complete and clear innocence and actually calm demeanor while being attacked. It wasn't until last week that I was exonerated in this investigation. Exonerated by the very video that has existed from the moment of the incident. After being exonerated, I requested a copy of the video from the entity that investigated me, and it was denied. This further protects John Adams from public scrutiny, accountability, and any other recourse I may take. That video clearly shows that he was the aggressor, yet he is not being investigated. But I was subjected to the stress and anxiety of being under investigation for months. But rest assured, that doesn't intimidate me, it doesn't discourage me, and I will continue revealing the truth to you. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to speak directly to my colleagues and others in the local criminal justice system. I sincerely appreciate all of you who have reached out to me and shared similar experiences with John Adams relative to other investigations. I know how difficult it is to come forward in environments where doing the right thing will come at a professional cost. I'm living proof of that, and as you will see in future episodes, I will show you all the retaliation I have endured for years. But it's possible. I appreciate your trust and support coming to me with these stories. Maybe one day you'll feel safe enough to speak publicly, or who knows, even maybe testify about what you experienced. Until then, just know that your courage in reaching out matters, and I deeply appreciate it. I also recently received additional information in regard to the obstruction of human trafficking operations that I referenced in the prior episode. This information further confirms the existence of a two-tiered criminal justice system that John Adams employs, one that protects his friends and political allies, regardless of the immorality of their actions. I'm working on a way to present this information to you, but I have to do it responsibly while protecting that source. I also want to be clear, my speech is not an indictment of the entire district attorney's office, by no means. There are plenty of good people there doing the best job they can. And a lot of those people would also condemn District Attorney John Adams, if they could do it without jeopardizing their jobs and careers. But maybe one day they will be able to, who knows? At this point, I want to acknowledge that not everyone is familiar with what led to the incident in which John Adams attacked me. For that reason, I need to provide you with a little more background. For context, I ask that you watch the following 50-second video that will appear on the screen. It's an ad that I ran for the victim-focused documentary project.
If you or someone you know experienced sexual abuse as a boy or young man at the hands of public officials or others in their inner circles, in Berks or Schuylkill counties, for decades, too many voices have been silenced. We are creating a documentary to shine a light on these hidden stories, to honor survivors, and to seek truth. If you are a victim willing to come forward, your story matters, and you are not alone. Others have already come forward. Please reach out in confidence to the contact information shown. Simply visit publicgrandjury.com and fill out the contact form. Your identity will be protected if you so choose. Together, we can help ensure that the past is no longer buried.
What you just watched is critical for context, since this is the work that I am doing that caused John Adams to attack me. Ask yourselves, what are they afraid of? What is he afraid of? In addition to the other criminal acts committed during that incident in which I was attacked, what John Adams did amounts to official oppression, as it was done to protect himself, protect Tim Smith, and others from my First Amendment and whistleblower protected activity. I now want to address a photograph that was forwarded to me by a confidential source approximately 2 weeks ago. I had held on to it, but now I decided to release it at this time because I believe it will also provide additional context for you, the viewers, before we dive into the case. The photo doesn't shock me because I know better, and I have other pictures of evidentiary value and context that I will show you in future episodes. At this point, you're seeing this photo on the screen. As you can see, this is a very recent photograph. Captures Tim Smith having dinner with John Adams, County Commissioner Dante Santoni, John Santoro, and several other political operatives, I'm going to call them. It is important to note that John Santoro is the courtroom coordinator for Judge Madeline Feuderman, and who served in that same role during Tim Smith's trial. More on the shenanigans that occurred during that trial will be revealed in future episodes. As you can see on the screen, this is an excerpt from the official trial transcripts where Judge Madeline Feuderman is introducing Mr. Santoro to the jury as at the beginning of the trial proceedings. Going back to this photo, I ask the public to pause and really consider what this image on your screen represents. This photo shows convicted sex offender Tim Smith, who was required to register as a sex offender following his 2016 conviction, and would still be a registered sex offender had he not lucked out when the law was changed approximately a year after his conviction. This conveniently exempts him from continued sex offender registration. Yet here he is, dining with a district attorney that attacked his victims, who sat on the case for 2 years and retaliated against me for pursuing it. He's also pictured with a courtroom coordinator, Mr. Santoro, the coordinator for the judge who refused to punish him, despite a jury conviction. She disregarded standard sentencing guidelines by allowing him to go unpunished despite a jury's conviction. At this point, you will see on the screen newspaper articles from that time, when the decision was widely questioned and criticized. No, I'm not the only one that has a problem with this. I'm just the one with the most knowledge and evidence of how that came to be, and the one who is not afraid to bring it all out in public. By the way, I reached out to the reporter who wrote those stories questioning Judge Feuderman's unusual decision. Her name is Stephanie Weaver. However, up to this point, she has not engaged with me. I assume it is due to the fact that she is now employed by Berks County in a public relations role. Future episodes will examine other individuals in this photograph, their connections, their links to entities, and how those connections were used by John Adams to retaliate against me for pursuing truth and accountability in this case. A case that, if it wasn't for the obstruction and was properly investigated, was beginning to reveal evidence of a decades-long sexual predator and pedophile network here in Berks County. So, I'll leave you with this question. What cards do you think Tim Smith holds that inspires this level of loyalty and protection? Or were others being protected as well? As I began preparing to continue with the presentation of the case to you, I reached out to former Assistant District Attorney David Goldberg. Goldberg was the ADA to whom John Adams reassigned the Smith case after taking it away from Adrian Shuka, a senior prosecutor who had asked that charges be filed. As I discussed in the previous episode, he also asked for charges against another individual involved. I have a documented conversation from back then in regard to what pressures Mr. Goldberg was under, which I may reveal in the future. So I contacted Goldberg during the first week of February to give him an opportunity to explain his actions. And he simply said he did not recall. That's pretty much the gist of it. Once I present the evidence of what he actually did, you can judge for yourselves whether this amnesia he's claiming is genuine or a falsehood. For those of you that are detectives, attorneys, or prosecutors, the answer will be especially clear. I promise you that in the next episode, we will start getting into the crux of the Tim Smith investigation. The parallel attempts to bury the case, the parallel retaliation against me for pursuing it, the players involved, and what occurred during the trial. I will do that while consulting the transcripts, which I recently obtained. If you ever wondered how the Jerry Sandusky's and Jeffrey Epstein abuses can go on for so long, I promise you that what you will see here will give you insight into that. And the picture I showed you of that group having dinner will make even more sense to you. Please make sure to share this video with your friends and family. Like and subscribe to the channel, please. That is the only way to get this out to others and create a community that supports this work and those who dare to do it. Thank you for watching. This is Public Grand Jury. Signing out for now. Stay tuned.